Hey guys, Socket here, and I want to quickly talk through my new character. Also, hello, by the way, since I've been AFK for a while. I'll show you some map footage of this trapper and my previous trapper, and also quickly update you for Bay class. People saying, where is my Bay class? I had Grill over for a week, that messed with my schedule. I'm having Grimro on the next episode, and I was going to move Bay class to tomorrow. Didn't match Grimro's schedule, blah, 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 blah. My bad, my fail. And to make it fit for everyone's schedule, next Saturday we'll have Grimro and Octavian on 100%. They'll be giving us glowy brain tips when it comes to beef crafting and all that good. And then we're going to get some of the other boys on there as well, but I need to chase up, see who's available for next Saturday. So I'll get a timer up once I definitely know that's going to happen, but it's going to happen Saturday coming. Sorry that we had to delay. Shit happens. So we are playing traps again. We managed to get a little bit more sauce out of Tholfos. I had a few conversations with him. He's told me that my current skill tree, this is basically what his build looked like a few iterations ago, aside from a few very minor differences. So this is basically the core tree, and we'll get into that later. And let's just show you what it kind of looks like in action. But before I do, I want to quickly talk about my old trapper and things I didn't like about my old trapper. So my old trapper had really cool single target using Cremation trap. The Cremation traps I liked. I was using Cremation trap and Ice trap, and then later Shock Nova trap. Ice trap had terrible AoE. That I did not like. Shock Nova trap had okay AoE. That I did kind of like. But yeah, I liked the Cremation trap. Didn't like my trap AoE. How to fix trap AoE. Now, as you can see, this is pretty, like, right? And this is with cluster trap. It had decent, like, overlap on packs. It would often leave, like, the odd mob, the odd straggler. And that just felt really frustrating. Once I swapped a Shock Nova trap into my setup, it felt a bit better. But I still had that issue, and it still felt a little inconsistent. So, with my new trapper, we started using volatile dead traps. And my thought process for using volatile dead traps, I'm sticking with the Cremation trap single target. I'm now pure fire using volatile dead and Cremation, although I only really use the Cremation for single target. I do have a Desecrate trap, and I'll explain all of that later. But yeah, so the advantage of using volatile dead over, for example, Ice trap, volatile dead, it explodes, this often kills the pack, and then the balls go out and seek out mobs, and they kill any leftover stragglers. So it solves a lot of the AoE issues I had with my previous trapper. And also, by being pure fire focused, I mess around with Immolate, and this new build is focused all around Immolate. I'm going to eventually, hopefully, get 2 Elder Rings with the mini Immolate mod. And if you don't know, Immolate does bonus fire damage against burning enemies. Get a bunch of fire damage, get a bunch of fire pen on gear, blah, 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 blah. Try and do like a pure fire setup. Why? Because I kind of want to. What's Tholfos doing? So he's doing fire trap, and Cremation trap, and Ice trap. He's assured me that he doesn't use Ignite in any way to do damage. Now, this would make you think, well, that means he doesn't use Immolate, but I don't know if that's him just being very clever on wording, because Immolate does bonus damage against burning enemies, and Fire Trap creates burning ground. So I think his setup is something kind of like Fire Trap, Cluster Trap. He's told me he uses Cluster Trap on Fire Trap, Immolate, Ellie Focus, and then maybe something like Controlled Destruction, AoE, Conk, Fire Pen. Maybe. I keep messing around with Fire Trap, Cluster Trap. The AoE just feels terrible, and Cremation just feels better. So, I don't know. But you say, okay, but Tarke, if you're doing stuff with Volatile Dead, then you have the problem that you need to throw the Desecrate out first. Isn't that really clunky? Well, the new Saboteur node gives a bunch of regen for traps which have triggered recently. So you get 1% life regen per second for each of your traps that have triggered recently. So I throw out my Desecrate traps. This spawns 6 traps. That's 6% regen. And because of that, because I'm chaining the 2, I'm always at like 20% regen. I always have a minimum of at least like 10% regen. So that's pretty powerful, and that feels pretty nice. I have to have a Desecrate set up anyway for my Cremation trap. So if I have to have links for Desecrate, I may as well put it on a trap to get extra regen. And then if I have this set up anyway, I may as well make the most out of it. And for me, Volatile Dead just feels smoother than Fire Trap for clear. Maybe it's just a situation that somehow, if you get enough AoE, it feels good. I don't know, I'm going to keep messing with it. So then it becomes, okay, Tarke, well then why would you play Volatile Dead traps over Self-Cast or Poet's Pen? I'm playing SSF. If I had 2 Poet's Pens, then yeah, I'd use 2 Poet's Pens. I don't have 2 Poet's Pens. If you have 2 Poet's Pens, do Volatile Dead Poet's Pens. I don't have Poet's Pens, and I keep saying Poet's Pens. Over Self-Cast, Self-Cast still has to manually cast Desecrate, so there's still this like 1-2-1-2 playstyle. Because I have bonuses of throwing traps, so when I throw the traps I get regen, and also when I throw traps it detonates other nearby traps. By having lots of traps in a small vicinity, it makes my trap trigger feel better, so there's just natural synergy there, and by having Trap Desecrate, it has a lower cooldown than Self-Cast Desecrate. The one advantage that Self-Cast Desecrate does have over Trap Desecrate is Self-Cast Desecrate can use Arcane Surge. You can't put Arcane Surge on traps, which is annoying, because it means I'm missing out a little bit of spell damage, so that kind of sucks. But yeah, I'm not using Eldritch Battery because I don't have a Tink Skin. If I had a Tink Skin, I would use Eldritch Battery. Tholfos uses Mind Over Matter Eldritch Battery in his build, and he says that without Tinker Skin, he wouldn't bother using Mom. That's why I don't use Mom. And also, by not using Mind Over Matter, that lets me use a Blasphemy Enfeeble or Tempt Chain, depending which one you prefer. And it also lets me use a Herald of Ash. And the buffed Herald of Ash is really nice for Pure Fire setups, and that is another reason to go for a Pure Fire setup, is to get the extra more damage from Herald of Ash. We don't get the like Proglyph Ignite setup, but we do get, I believe, 12% more damage. So that feels pretty good. So I'm currently running a Blasphemy Enfeeble, a Herald of Ash, and a level 6 Clarity. I would eventually like to get my mana to a point where I could drop the Clarity and then maybe run a Aspect of the Avian I kind of want to mess around with. Aspect of the Avian gives you a 10% chance to deal double damage. Because Cremation and Volatile Dead traps, and I'm showing you this footage because this boss was an absolute pain to kill with traps. The Waka Wakatiki Riki is annoying. On this kind of a trapper, it's a really annoying fight, so you can have fun watching me get increasingly frustrated. But yeah, so that's another good thing about going EB. So if I went EB, I could then reserve all of my mana. I would use the Spider Craft if I had it. I think Aspect of the Spider is probably the best one, or even Aspect of the Crab. I currently only have Aspect of the Crab and Aspect of the Avian unlocked. I kind of want to mess around with Aspect of the Avian so it gives you a rotating buff of movement speed and chance to deal double damage. My thought process was, with Cremation and Volatile Dead being so many small hits, it would proc very often, which is kind of nice. An Aspect of the Crab gives you ramping physical mitigation. Since we are a phase acro build, having extra Physmit would be nice. I will eventually mess around with it if I do ever get onto the full EB setup. But I'm currently just going for Blasphemy Enfeeble, having a little bit of mana left over. Also, you'll notice that on my Desecrate, I have actually got my Desecrate linked into Blood Magic. And I know you can only have one aspect at a time. I am aware you can only have one, so my setup would be a Blasphemy, a Herald, and then an Aspect. So that would be 50%, then 35%. If I had a little bit of reservation, I could then also maybe fit in an Arctic Armor, which would be kind of nice. But anyway. So I am using a Blood Magic on my Desecrate. The reason I'm using a Blood Magic on my Desecrate, I have an open link for it because I'm currently still using Deerstalkers. If I drop the Deerstalkers, then I would go with just Desecrate, Trap, and then Cluster Trap with either Blood Magic or Trap cooldown. The reason why I have Blood Magic on there, whenever I throw it, I regen a bunch of life, so it costs basically nothing. I don't need the trap cooldown on there. It still has a lower cooldown than normal does, straight without it. I really hate this boss. This took me way too long, but I hope you're enjoying how painful this was for me. You can do multi-trap and cluster trap to get slightly more regen, but then it just felt kind of overkill, and I was hitting the regen cap out anyway, so it felt whatever. And I'd rather have the utility of either easier mana cost through the blood magic or the reduced cooldown. You can mess around with it. It's all stuff you can mess with. To show you my current gear setup, and before you say, Tarke, your life seems really low, you only have 4.7k life. I'm only level 80, I'm missing like 100 life on my shield. I'm about to get 22% life here. I haven't got any jewels yet, and you could get a lot of life on jewels. With a path of building with my current gear equipped, the only thing I've changed is the shield to a 90 life shield. Getting a 90 life shield is very achievable. And then I threw in 3 40 life hypnotic jewels. Even without those, at level 95, you have 5.8k life. And that's still with like a low roll deer stalker. So you can get, basically you have like 6k life-ish at level 95. With Acro Phase Acro, with a Blasphemy Enfeeble, and then also 10% reduced damage taken from blinded enemies. You blind all nearby enemies. So you'll have enemies are blinded. They're covered by either Enfeeble or Temp Chains. You potentially have either Aspect of the Spider for extra slows or Aspect of the Crab for additional physical mitigation. You have reduced damage taken from blinded enemies. You could also run a Wise Oak for even more elemental mitigation. So you actually are surprisingly tanky, and most people say, but Tarke, you have like no life. A lot of people are playing like 5k life Mind Over Matter builds with like 2k mana. I would much rather have like 6k life, have a Blasphemy defensive Enfeeble, and then have Acro Phase Acro on top of that, and then just have like 6 to 7k-ish. And yes, you can blind bosses, you can blind most things. So yeah, this seems pretty tanky. Also, because of the amount of regen I have, you can see for like 1.4k regen, let's just throw in like, you know, 1 jewel, let's just say 2 jewels, right? 6k life, you've got like 1.5k-ish regen. I am also using a Immortal Flesh currently. I had a lot of questions about the Immortal Flesh. Why am I running the Immortal Flesh? It gives me more flat life regen. I'm stacking a bunch of life regen. It also gives me some mana regen, which makes my mana feel a bit smoother. I could level the clarity higher, but this currently feels fine. I can currently run every map mod but no regen. I realized when I showed you my mana, I was covering my mana pool. So you can see it regens up quite happily. And the only other kind of interesting-ish thing I'm doing is I'm running multi-trap now on my Cremation. So before I was running Cremation without multi-trap. The reason why I started running multi-trap on it is I can now just throw 1 Cremation, and then it instantly, it instantly then triggers all 3, which means that on bosses my life is a lot easier. So I just throw it once, all 3 are up. It feels smoother. It also means that if I ever want to like alternate between Volatile Dead and Cremation, let's say I'm doing breaches or I'm in a very tightly packed map or an abyss spawn or whatever, it just makes it feel a little bit more fluid. Although if you did want additional DPS, you would drop the multi-trap. My 6th link would be a Fire Pen, and I'm currently using some Shaped Gloves with Trap. You ideally want Shaped Gloves with supported by Trap for an additional Trap. I've spent about 1,000 ults and haven't hit a good pair, so I just settled these for now. So we have 5-link Volatile Dead, 5-link Cremation, and 5-link Desecrate, but as I previously mentioned, you don't really need a 4-link. Then we have Faster Attacks, Shield Charge, Fortify, Cast and Damage Taken, Immortal Call, Summon Stone Golem, Blasphemy, Clarity, Enfeeble, then just a Flame Dash to get up and down ledges. So yeah, current work and prog. Next thing to get, more life, then get Phase Acro, eventually get more damages. I know Saboteur is really good. I'm getting defense before I get that. The reason why I don't take Clever Construction, traps don't really die anymore. 1 or 2 patches ago, they added a thing that when you throw traps, they have like a safety window where they can't be damaged. Traps always trigger before you get this. The reason why I get these 2 minor nodes before it is I like having trap throwing speed. Think of this like a 10% spell damage, 5% cast speed node. That would be really powerful if you couldn't use like faster casting or spell echo on your links. Imagine a caster which can't use spell echo or fast casting. This is really good. And I take both the trap throwing speed and the trap trigger cluster. Some people only take one. The trap trigger AoE it's really good. Just get it. I think it's always worth. And we have automated frenzy charges and automated power charges through Blast Cascade. It feels kind of smooth. It's pretty budget. You can do it as a league starter if you want to. It kind of kills things-ish. And yeah, we're trying traps again. Bay Class Saturday coming. We'll get bored in the shadows when we have more life. This time I won't get one-shot by Uberazar like I did on my last trapper. I'm Tarke. Have a good day. Bye-bye.